Iran doesn't hate Israel. The decades since the Islamic Revolution have weighed heavy on the people of Iran. Living in fear, under extreme levels of surveillance and oppression, ordinary citizens have seen their quality of life plummet and their horizons shrink, as their country became an international pariah. Those who dared to protest have been brutally repressed by regime goons with knives, axes, and heavy weaponry. And while forced to suffer the deprivation of draconian sanctions, hard-working families could only look on as their despotic leaders splurged billions of dollars on military meddling overseas. When the senior Hamas leader Mahmoud al-Zahar boasted in December that the regime had given him $22 million of government money, Farsi social media lit up in rage. The average wage in Iran may be hovering around $2,000 a year, but Iranian cash now funds 80% of the threats facing Israel. Intelligence sources tell me. Yet it is surely a powerful tribute to the rich and ancient Persian civilization that despite all the anguish imposed by these deeply malevolent rulers, and despite the constant waves of anti-Western propaganda, the public remains the most tolerant in the region. It goes without saying that decent opinion polls from inside Iran are non-existent. The few that have been conducted over social media are too unreliable to cite, relying on small sample sizes with no proper weighting. But vivid indications can be found elsewhere. Take attitudes towards Israel, always a useful barometer of the health of public opinion. Shortly after the assassination of Iranian nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh near Tehran last year, two banners appeared on a prominent bridge nearby. The first was a handmade sign saying, "Thank you Mossad." The second was an Israeli flag. This was more than a stunt by a small number of near-suicidal activists. It represented a strong pattern of pro-Israel sentiment in the country. If you search Farsi social media in the aftermath of any Israeli attack on Iranian forces in Syria, you'll find an outpouring of jubilation. If you visit key sites in Iran, where Israeli flags have been painted on the floor to be trampled, you will see passers-by carefully avoiding them. And if you're in Iran for Quds Day, the annual carnival of hatred where Israeli and American flags are burned, you'll notice that it is rather less popular than the state-controlled media likes to suggest.